Good day, everyone. Welcome back to another speed build. It has been a long time since I've done a speed build. This build in real life actually took me over 10 hours on two separate days to do. So this speed build video is going to be about 25 minutes long. I had 11 hours of footage that I had to speed up, and speeding it up to 3,000% got me down to about 22 and a half minutes, and then the rest of it is screenshots. So the beginning of this video is entitled "Roofs Are the Bane of My Existence." I struggle with roofs, and I'm not the only one. I see a number of people who create Sims 4 content, whether it's live streaming or videos. They've been playing the game a lot longer than me. I've only been playing it about a year and a half, and even they talk about how difficult it is to get roofs exactly the way they want them. So I figured I would just leave my roof struggles in here. You can actually go into YouTube and slow down the video playback if you want to see all of the iterations that I went through before I finally got the roof exactly, well, almost exactly the way I wanted it. It's not exactly, the roof and the top floor aren't exactly what I was looking for, but they were close enough to what I had seen and what I was trying to recreate in The Sims 4 that I was just glad to move on and head to the rest of the build part. So in case you didn't know, Little Simsy did a really, really good roof tutorial on her YouTube channel, and I actually went back and reviewed that video in order to figure out how to do what I wanted to do. I was trying to do it from memory for a very long time and it wasn't working, but going back and reviewing her video helped me get to where I wanted to get to. And I'm pretty sure that this section here was after I had reviewed her video, so I was able to see, okay, this is where I had went wrong. Let me go back and redo things so that I can actually get stuff the way that I wanted to. So this is where I'm just making some minor adjustments to the width of the third floor and the position of the roofing in order to get it to look seamless. The This took a very long time. I don't know how long it took in real life, but it took a very long time. And as you can see here, I finally got it the way I want, so I'm able to move on to the rest of the build. So this speed build was inspired by not just one house, but a few houses that I saw on a block in the Bronx in New York City. A lot of the builds in The Sims 4 do not reflect what I'm used to seeing in terms of housing. So I grew up in the New York City metro area, and a lot of the housing that I see is apartments, of course, but also houses that are built very close together, even one family houses. Some are multiple family units, but there are a lot of single family houses, at least not in Manhattan proper, but in places like the Bronx, Queens, Staten Island, and these houses don't look like the typical suburban sprawl houses that you'll see in a lot of Sims 4 builds. These houses might have an alleyway, a very narrow alleyway between them, if that, or they might have just a narrow driveway between the houses. The houses are built very, very close together. So I made these two houses built off of the houses that I saw on Silver Street in the Bronx. In reality, the houses that I saw were even closer together than this, but I decided to take some artistic liberties because I didn't want to do three houses. I probably could have put three houses on the lot, but I only wanted to do two, and I wanted them to take up most of the lot. So I allowed for a wider driveway slash alleyway. I didn't put a car there. I decided to make it an alleyway, Both houses have fenced-in backyards, so really you can see the alley once you get to the backyard part between the two houses, and you can see where that concrete basically goes from the front all the way to the back. So Sims can walk that lot from the, and NPCs, they can walk that block from the front all the way to the back without having to go around the houses if the game wants to route them that way. So the backstory on these two houses in the game that I came up with is this first house is owned by a family with two kids. They have a child, and they recently had another child. So they have a child and a toddler. The two kids share a room. And the house, except for the first floor, is obviously well worn. It's been around a while, probably was built in the 1940s, 1950s, and you can see the wear and tear on the wallpapers upstairs, but they did save up the money to have the ground floor renovated. So you'll see a more modern looking kitchen with the counters and the modern looking bar stools at the kitchen counters, on the large TV. I ended up using shelving from the new Dream Home Decorator pack to give it a bit of a more modern feel. So the downstairs has your living room, a very large open entryway, living room, kitchen, an eat-in kitchen, and a sunroom. And you can get to the backyard from the sunroom. The back door is off of the sunroom. The backyard, you'll be able to see when I get to that part of it, is small. It's well maintained, and it's obviously well used. You'll see tracks in the grass from where people have walked to the lounge chair under the tree, or where the kids have run back and forth to and from the jungle gym. I like putting those little pieces of realism in because I really wanted this house to look lived in, not run down, but definitely lived in. Now, the other house that you'll see in the second half of the video, just a few minutes from now, in the other house, that one is owned by an attorney and their spouse, and they also have children. They don't have toddlers, so they have maybe a young adult child, or maybe a teenager, but they have a double bed in their room, and they also have a child. So they have 3 bedrooms in that house. This first house has 2 bedrooms, one for the 2 children, one for the parents, and with an ensuite. And there's another bathroom upstairs. There's also a bathroom downstairs. So this first house has 2 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a sunroom downstairs, and an attic, which is turned into like a workout type space. You'll see a yoga mat, a meditation pillow, and some workout equipment, and a bookcase and a sofa upstairs. Once again, it looks well worn, but not run down. It's a house that's obviously lived in. There's also plenty of room for renovation. So next to the children's room, you'll see I put like a little study area. So there's a desk and there's some bookcases and there's a sofa. But you can turn that into an enclosed room of some kind if you wanted to. The same with the attic. The attic, you can make a couple of bedrooms out of the attic if you really wanted to do that. And the basement is not built in. And I believe there's room on the first floor where if you wanted to add a basement, there is space to put stairs. Good luck finding finding a spot that you like for the stairs. They'll probably end up having to go in the middle of the floor just because in The Sims you can't put stairwells directly on top of the other. I wish you could. It would make builds a lot more compact and a lot more realistic because in real life you can do that, but in The Sims you can't. So we make do with what we have. So here I was doing a little bit of work on the upstairs on the attic, and I actually ended up having to break the build for this whole lot over 2 different days. So the first day I spent 5 hours building. The second day I spent a little bit over 5 hours um, building. So that's why I ended up with 11 hours of footage that I had to speed up a ridiculous amount in order to get it to fit into a less than a half hour speed build video. So at one point you're going to see me transition while I'm working on this attic, and you'll see a quick transition to another part of the house because that's where I broke it. I finished for the one day and then had to come back the next week and finish it. I actually finished this build yesterday. I spent all day sitting under my air conditioning since we're having a heat wave here in New York City, and I stayed inside under the AC all day and finished this build. So anyway, I was talking about the other house. So this is a well-worn house, the family with 2 kids. The other house is owned by an attorney, and they have either a young adult or a teenager living with them, and they also have a child. So that house has 3 bedrooms. The second floor is a lot more enclosed. There's not an open study area on the second floor like there is in this house that I'm still working on. That one has, let me see, 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, an upstairs library, and a downstairs office. That second house, that family has quite a bit more money, and their style is more of a combination of contemporary and Victorian. So that the interior of that house is going to look a lot different than the interior of this house. This house looks more homey. It looks more like a family dwelling that kids can run around and be kids. And the other house looks more like a place where, yes, there's a child there, but their stuff is predominantly in their bedroom. And you don't really see signs of children in the rest of the house. So that's this house that I'm working on now. The backstory is that both of the houses were designed and built by the same designer, who would happen to be me, of course. And in reality, that's probably the case. The houses that I saw on Silver Street in the Bronx, a number of them, if not all of them, were probably designed and built by the same designer around the same time because it looks very, very uniform. So both houses are built by the same builder, but because this family has more money, then there's some modifications. You'll see picture windows here in the front of the house where you'll only see one picture window in the sunroom in the house next door. This house has a swimming pool in the backyard instead of a playground for the kids. The backyard is completely paved over and it has a swimming pool. All right, I am back. I had to take a quick break because my partner came in from work, so I wanted to greet them and find out how their day went and all of that good stuff. So while they are napping to decompress from their day at work, I'm going to finish this voiceover. That's real life, y'all. So yeah, I was talking about the second house and how their backyard is paved over. There's no playground equipment in the second house, but they do have a pool and they have a propane grill. It's obvious that this second family has more money from the first. They even have a full deck built out of I ended up actually making it a covered porch. So they have a full covered porch on the back of the house. So they were able to afford to have some additional renovations done. It would have been easier for me to make both houses identical. However, that wouldn't be realistic. Even in real life, if you have two houses next door that were designed and built by the same person, and the layouts of the houses are identical. There are two different families living in the houses. So even if the layouts were identical between the houses, the furnishings wouldn't have been identical. So I really liked imagining these two different families and figuring out, okay, how would they furnish their houses? How would they renovate their houses? And so this family that has more money has done a lot more renovating. So you can see here they have like a formal dining space. I won't call it a formal dining room because it's not a huge enclosed room, but it is a formal dining space outside of the kitchen. And you could see a minute or so ago, the furnishings were a lot more Victorian. Um, So while I was doing this build, I was actually streaming live on Twitch, and I realized that it was Pride Sunday. So I put the New York City Pride festivities in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, so that I could share it with the people who were watching my stream, because I was watching it. We had it on our TV here at home, and the cool thing about streaming is that I don't have to just share the game, even though a lot of times I do stream where I don't have a mic or I don't have a cam, which is what I was doing in this case. But I was also able to share, oh yeah, I'm watching the Pride Parade, and I typed out in the chat, hey, I'm watching the Pride Parade, so I'm gonna put the Pride festivities, the telecast, up in the upper right hand corner and share it with you all. So we were all able to watch the Pride festivities together. New York didn't have a Pride parade like we normally do. Normally all of Fifth Avenue is closed, and you have people and floats and marching bands and all of that stuff marching. Instead, what they did this year was they did have live events. So like they had the city's LGBTQ marching band perform. They had various celebrities do performances, like Big Frida performed to close out the festivities and all of that. And they had live hosts, and there were people there, but it wasn't as big of a thing. But from what I understand, a lot of communities had their own smaller pride marches. I believe the Bronx had their pride events last weekend, and so the other boroughs also had their own events. Fingers crossed that for Pride 2022, we will have truly gotten a handle on COVID-19, and vaccination numbers will be up high enough, and we will have really gotten a handle on how to keep everyone safe so that we can just open back up again and people can enjoy the Pride festivities the way they normally do. I normally don't go to the parades. I don't like the crowds. As I've gotten older, I have a lot less tolerance for crowds than I did when I was a lot younger. So I prefer to, watch festivities on social media or watch them on TV, see my friends' photos. There have been a couple of times in the past. I think I went to maybe 4 or 5 pride parades here in New York City, and at least three of those times, I got a media pass. So I was able to photograph the parade from the street. For those of you who don't know, I'm also a photographer. That's not my day-to-day job, but I'm also a professional photographer. So I was able to get a media pass and photograph the festivities, so I didn't have to deal with the crowds. And that made the parade a lot more fun for me, and I was able to get some awesome, awesome shots those years. So I'd probably be likely to do that again because Pride in New York City is a huge affair with people coming from all over the world, and the streets are just crowded, ridiculously crowded for the event. It's a fun event though. I'm very glad that I participated the few times that I had. One time I was even on my former church's float. I rode with them and I was able to photograph from the float, and that was a very different way of viewing the parade route. But anyway, back to the build. So this is the back porch. Originally, I had intended for it to be a deck, and then I decided, well, we'll make it a covered back porch so they can enjoy it 3 seasons. So they're able to sit out, even if it's raining or whatnot, they can still sit outside and enjoy their porch. Honestly, I would love to have a house and have that kind of a porch and even be able to fit a little swimming pool in there. I usually like if I make a swimming pool, I don't often do because they're very expensive in The Sims, just like they are in real life. So usually if I make a pool, I make it a lot larger, but I really, really wanted this house to have a pool. To me, having an in-ground swimming pool goes along with this family having more money and at least one of the adults in the household being an attorney. The downstairs office that you saw when I first started renovating this house, that's where the attorney in the family sees their clients. So their clients are able to come right through the front door and go into their office. And then there's a restroom. I made sure to separate the toilet and the sink out from the rest of the main bathroom because I wanted this person's to be able to have their clients come in if they needed a restroom. They could go to the restroom, they could freshen up, they could wash their hands, all without going into the main bathroom that the family used. So the family would still be able to have, like their conditioner and shampoo and body lotions and all of that stuff on the counters. They wouldn't have to worry about clients seeing it. So now I finally gotten to the end of the speed build part. And these are the screenshots. I really like how these two houses came out. I'm glad that I didn't give up when it occurred to me that this was going to be a much more intensive and long build than I had imagined. I'm glad that I didn't give up on it and I kept with it. So far, I haven't played in it, but I did play test it, and the both houses are playable. So you can use, if you have the Get Together pack, you can use the club system to have one house be accessible to one set of Sims and the other house accessible to another set of Sims. Or you can have, like, you can pretend that this is extended family and you can have family going back and forth between the two houses. You can, if you have multiple households in your game and say you have members of one household coming to visit the other one, then they can be put up in the second house. Really, however you want to play it is up to you. You're limited only by your imagination. Yeah, or you can just lock one house and have it be, just pretend that there are neighbors there, but you never go inside of that house. Whatever you want to do with it. This is up on the gallery, and the name of the lot is Silver Street Homes. My EAID is wthelotus. I'll make sure to put all of that information in the description below so that if you'd like, you can download this build, put it in your own game and play with it. I used every pack under the sun, so I do apologize for those of you who don't have a lot of packs. I do try to do builds that are base game only or base game in just one pack, but for this build I really just wanted to be able to build without having to worry about which packs I'm using. So I do apologize for that if you don't have a lot of packs, but it is in the gallery. You can download it. I hope you have fun with it, and I hope you enjoyed this speed build. Have a lot of fun with your game, and fingers crossed it won't be so long until my next one. All right, you take care.